Hello, and welcome to a very different kind of episode 61 of the Player 3 podcast. I'm your host, Luke Croft, and alongside me, we have the always visually stunning Larry Hunt.
Hi.
And then alongside him, we have Dizzy. That's already his nickname, Cooper. That's
Hello.
All right, so you may be wondering, don't you guys normally all sit in the same room together? Well, Larry has moved to Alaska, and Diz is in the pits of hell currently.
After getting hit by a runaway side disc truck.
So this is all we've got. Actually, we got a pretty good snowstorm, and there's a lot of ice that's expected to come. So we figured it'd be safer just to get together and figure out how to do this. Diz, it looks like you have 1,000 doors in that room.
Yeah, there's one, yep, 2, 3, and then around this corner, there's the fourth one, yes.
Gosh,
and the fifth one, and the sixth one, and the seventh one, 8, 9,
just
9.
He's surrounded by doors. And then, man, in our chat, ladies and gentlemen, Benjamin D. Hankins. The D stands for Destiny. I can't throw his video up on the screen.
I mean, there are a lot of doors in hell, I think.
Probably, but none of them are an exit.
No. Infinite loop, right back to this spot.
Oh, we are the Player 3 podcast. We get together every Monday to talk about video games and then push it out to you on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, youtube.com/Player3 podcast, or you can watch us live right here on twitch.tv/Player3 podcast. Larry, up in Chatham, how much snow have you guys got? He's checking for our audio listeners. He's looking out the window.
A few inches.
A few inches?
Yeah, just a few.
Ben just texted me something that's indicative of his entire life. He said, "My internet is struggling."
Hey Ben, did you switch to Comcast yet?
We'll give him half an hour to reply to that on his dial-up. All right. Well, let's get this show started like we get every show started with the releases of the week. All right. And Ben's not here again this week. Larry, it's 2 birthdays in a row. All right. So as I was perusing through the releases for this week, one of the main ones that jumped out to me is Rocket League finally coming to Xbox One. Released on PlayStation back in the summer last year, and PC. They've been saying that they were going to release it on Xbox, and finally, tomorrow or Wednesday, people will be able to play it. Larry, and Diz, you guys are both sole Xbox owners. How excited are you about Rocket League?
I'm actually really excited. When I first saw this game, I didn't give a single crap about it. But the more that I've seen about it, it looks like a lot of fun, and I'm glad I'm going to finally get to try it out.
Diz, I take it you're not excited about it.
It's just not really my style of game, but I do love watching other people play it.
Yeah, I remember when it released on in beta on the PlayStation 4. I went and I downloaded it, and I think it was it you and Seth over at the house, Diz? And I was playing it, and I was like, this seemed kind of kitschy at first, but now that I've played it, it seems really, really fun. And all three, me, Seth, and Ben, all bought it for the PlayStation and love it. But there's so much like Xbox exclusive stuff that's going to be a part of this game over on the Xbox One that I kind of want to buy it again for that, because they're going to have like Halo stuff. You'll be able to drive a Warthog. They have some Gear stuff, some Rocket League. Not Rocket. Obviously, they have some Rocket League stuff.
Finally.
And Sunset Overdrive stuff. A lot of really cool like Xbox exclusive kind of things. So I'm a little excited about it releasing. Is there anything else that's coming out this week? I think Street Fighter V is supposed to come out this week as well, but none of us are really big fighting game fans or really big fans of butt physics.
I never said that. I'm excited for Far Cry coming out this month, though. Woo!
Let's see.
Primal?
What's that?
Yeah.
Far Cry Primal? I like that you can throw a honey badger at people. That's pretty good.
I like that you can train a wolf to pee on your dead enemies. Diz and I were talking about... Oh, go ahead, Diz.
I was going to mention what you did. Like, one of my main things about Far Cry is just kind of their humor, the dialogue, and I felt like we were going to be lacking in that. But then Luke said...
I forgot
is
what I
that not
said.
you were going to talk about?
No. I forgot what I forgot what I said.
You're like, it's going to have that humor because of this wolf peeing on things. It's just going to be in like a different element.
Yeah, it's
just a
gonna.
different way of portraying it.
Yeah, it's gonna be delivered a lot differently, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like. I know you're kind of. You're just kind of like, man, the without the gunplay and all that sort of stuff. But I kind of feel like this game was a little bit of like has like that hardline syndrome where they wanted to do something kind of different and out of the realm of what they normally do, but they knew if they just released a game called Primal, it wouldn't sell as well as if they didn't, tack it into like the Far Cry universe. And so Far Cry Primal, but this is a game that doesn't look anything like any of the other Far Cry games. Not that it doesn't look fun or cool, but I mean it's got some of those Far Cry elements. The idea of like nature constantly trying to kill you, and it's still pretty visceral in terms of like melee and up close combat. But outside of that, it doesn't have that real Far Cry feel to it. But you're more of a Far Cry fan, Diz, and so from the gameplay, like what have you picked up from it?
I'm not going to miss the gunplay, to be completely honest with you. Every time I've played, I've always been the guy to just get the compound bow because it's fun, it's silent, it's easy, and that's kind of is going to be a weapon that you build up to have in Primal is another bow. So I'm super excited. Like I said, I'm not really going to miss the gunplay that much, but I didn't know. I didn't realize it was coming out this month a little while ago, and I'm stoked.
Another game that's coming out this week. This week, the Far Cry's coming out next week or the week after. I can't remember which.
I think it's the 28th, isn't it?
The 28th is Sunday. I think it's the 23rd. So,
Okay.
yeah, a week from tomorrow. But another game coming out on PlayStation 4 is a game called Layers of Fear. It's a psychological horror game that got quite a bit of hype about a month ago when the release date was announced. But I'll just read the description from the drop. It says, a tragic past, an unfinished painting, and a crumbling psyche. These are the core elements that make up the setting of Layers of Fear, a new psychological horror game coming to PS4. Now, when a horror game comes out that I'm kind of excited about and that I'm thinking about playing, I don't tend to like to look up a lot of stuff about it, so I don't know a ton of stuff about Layers of Fear because I'm hopefully going to download it tomorrow and play it. And but I like those. I like it to be kind of fresh. I don't want to expect something. Larry,
is this an exclusive?
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
We should have a monthly stream. This is brainstorming 3 podcast right here. A monthly stream where you and I get together and play some of these PS4 exclusive horror games.
Yeah, because we could title that stream "Larry's of Fear."
I hate it. I hate it so much that I love it. But outside of that, you can of course check the drop and all those sorts of things. I think that's all we're interested in that's coming out this week. So Layers of Fear and Rocket League over on Xbox One. Check those out. And those are your releases of the week. So
Clap, clap.
it's weird. Ben was in the chat doing it for us earlier.
Oh.
He says releases of the week. Clap, clap. Happy birthday, Larry.
Thanks.
Though your birthday was a week ago. So
Yeah.
all right, let's move on into the news. We got quite a bit to cover today. A lot of big stuff happening over the course of last week. And we'll start with this story over from the Ubisoft blog. Getting it straight from the horse's mouth, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's see if this works. All right, I think it is. Okay, so this says a message from the Assassin's Creed team. It says, it's an exciting time for Assassin's Creed. We're only a few months removed from the debut of Jacob and Evie Fry, the stars of Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Great game, by the way. I'm about halfway through it, really enjoying it. We're proud of the talented team in Quebec City and all of our studios around the world that took part in bringing the Victorian London adventures of our twin assassins to life. We truly hope you enjoyed all that speak about Syndicate. All right, here we go. This year, we are also stepping back and re-examining the Assassin's Creed franchise. As a result, we've decided that that there will not be a new Assassin's Creed game in 2016. Since the release of Assassin's Creed Unity, we've learned a lot based on your feedback. We've also updated our development process and recommitted to making Assassin's Creed a premier open-world franchise. We're taking this year to evolve the game mechanics and to make sure we're delivering on the promise of Assassin's Creed, offering offering unique and memorable gameplay experiences that make histories everyone's playground. All right. So when we were on our little hiatus for that month, for the month of January, so a leak came out that this was going to happen. That there was going to be no Assassin's Creed coming out, and that they were going to completely reboot the franchise by bringing it to ancient Egypt. Actually, was what they were saying was the era that they were aiming for. Now, none of that, other than the fact that there's no Assassin's Creed in 2016, has been substantiated yet. So, knowing Ubisoft, knowing that here's this game, Assassin's Creed, it's become annualized. Do you think this is a good move or a bad move for Ubisoft?
I think that is a good move for them to step back, take some time to kind of reevaluate things. It's not that the games have gotten bad, but they've had a lot of missteps, and I think that not trying to rush a game out every year will do them a lot of good.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Unity was damaging. Unity was very damaging to them, and it showed in the sales for Syndicate, and the fact that it took a couple weeks for Syndicate to regain the trust and the momentum that they had with their fans prior to Unity's release. And I mean, they even mentioned that in the press release that, hey, we learned a whole lot from Unity. But I was talking to Diz on sometime last week about Far Cry and how in this fear that is Far Cry going to become this annualized thing. And I think because of this move from Assassin's Creed, we don't really have to worry about Ubisoft running another franchises into the ground because they realize the damage that it did to something that was honestly one of the most popular games that released every year.
Mm.
What were your thoughts, Diz?
I think it's a very smart idea. Syndicate was creative. It was fun. It was very interesting. I remember back when we were doing 3 Topic, I was like, I want to see this game in like a Gangs of New York style, and that's exactly what we got. And I think this break, it allows time to get these fresh ideas, to get these original things to flow. These developers, these writers, aren't having to pump out a new story constantly, and I think that allows for a much needed refueling. So I'm hoping that this next one that comes out just blows us away. So I think it's a very smart idea.
Now, let's say this game gets delayed. It's not delayed. It's announced for 2017. It finally releases behind a whole lot more hype, and it's very well received, sells very well. Can you see any of the other annualized franchises, and if so, which ones, taking a look at that and saying, man, maybe we should take a step back and see just what we can do with a longer development cycle and kind of giving people a reprieve from that franchise fatigue that they're experiencing. Are there any other annualized titles that you can see doing that?
I'll take it. We would consider the Call of Duty franchise annualized, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like they're getting to a position to where they're constantly pushing the boundary of making something new and making something different. That where the point they are now, where can they go? Mechs. That's the only next step that I see working in this universe that they are creating. So they need to step back and see what the fans are clamoring about. Like we talked last week about the new World War II game coming out. We're seeing a huge group of people who grew up on the original Call of Duty wanting this back. But I don't think the developers have taken time to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Call of Duty is a little tougher just because it's 3 franchise. It's 3 studios that work on it. You've got Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and Sledgehammer, and so they really got these 3-year development cycles. But just for the sake of like giving your fans a break, even if it's not just to give your developers a little bit longer time, but just to keep your fans from feeling like, man, we're shelling out. And if you're a hardcore Call of Duty player, you're not just shelling out $60. You're buying season passes, map packs, all those sorts of things as well. And so you're spending closer to $100 a year just on one franchise and giving people a break from that. I think with Call of Duty, though, there's a big fear that if they don't release every year, they'll exit the public psyche. Any franchises you see benefiting from that, Larry?
I just really can't think, like, when I think of annualized franchises, mostly I think of sports games, and I know they're not going to do anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I think there's several different options when it comes to sports games. I always thought if they could just give them, like, because they're not even working on a year dev cycle, they're working on a 9-month dev cycle. So there's very little wiggle room to try to step back and redo your assets or completely overhaul the AI or anything like that. But if they could give themselves another 10 months in 2 years and just say, because the big thing with sports games is like, well, we're just paying $60 for a roster update with 2 like gameplay updates. So if you could sell the full game for $60, then for the next year you get free roster updates, but then you have to pay $25 and we'll continue updating the rosters for it because it's a big undertaking, ratings and creating players and rookies and new free agents, all that sort of stuff. That way they're still making some money in those off years, and they're still making money off of like Ultimate Team and those sorts of things that they can then come in and say, well, now we've got 18, 19, 20 months to work with between these releases than the 9 months that we have to work with now. So I don't know. I hope Ubisoft is starting to set a trend with this of like maybe releasing annually is doing way more harm than good. But if you're a huge Assassin's Creed fan and you are a little disappointed by the absence of Assassin's Creed, never fear. There's more coming. This is from Lucas Croft over on Twinfinite, the site that I write for. Earnings report reveals Ubisoft's upcoming 2016 releases. It says Ubisoft has issued an investor press release outlining the company's releases in the upcoming fiscal year, which runs from April 2016 to March 2017. The list includes the sequel to Watch Dogs, For Honor, and an unannounced AAA title. Quote, in 2016 to 2017, the company expects to achieve sales of around 1.7 million fake dollars, non-IFRS operating income of approximately 230 million shekels, and strong free cash flow generation. Ubisoft will launch a very high-quality lineup, including For Honor, South Park, The Fractured But Whole, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, the next installment of Watch Dogs, and a new high-potential AAA brand with strong digital live services. Growth also will be driven by further increases in revenues for the digital segment and the back catalog. All right, so we don't have Assassin's Creed coming this year, but we do have a whole lot coming between now and next March, and this doesn't even talk about the Division because it's not in their next fiscal year. So let's start with this unannounced AAA title. I'm fascinated by what this could be. I don't know what it means for something to be that it's a brand with strong digital live services. I tried reading up on what that meant, and there isn't a whole lot about what that means. But exciting to see what Ubisoft can come up with.
I would assume something with kind of a persistent existence online or something.
Yeah, I could see that. But I could also see it something that digital live services makes me think of releasing digital content on it. So like a music-based game or something like that. But
so no like MMO or anything?
What's that?
Not like an MMO?
It could be. I mean, it's really up in the air. It'll be interesting to see. They've got their press conference coming at E3, and I think we'll see more of what that entails then. But of all these games that are on this list, we've got For Honor, South Park, Tom Clancy, Ghost Recon, and the next installment of Watch Dogs. Which of these games are you most excited about? What are you most excited about?
Dude, I remember when Trey Parker's like, we will never make another game, and we're getting one. I'm so thrilled. Man, the last one, oh gosh, was just so impressive to me. And isn't this new one supposed to be based on like the superheroes?
Yeah. This will be the Super Friends or whatever.
So that's definitely the one I'm looking forward to. Absolutely.
See, because I really enjoyed Stick of Truth, but I'm not big into that whole like fantasy lore, like is in that. So bringing it to the superhero realm, I can only imagine I'm gonna like this one even more. I also am not sure if I want it to stick with the turn-based or if I want it to be like an action game. I think it'd be cool to see what they could do with an action game. How about you, Larry?
The For Honor, is that the sword fighting game?
Yeah.
That's such a different concept. It's something that we haven't really seen before. So that's the one that excites me most because it'll be something new, something we haven't done before. But I'm also intrigued by the name Ghost Recon Wildlands. I wonder what that actually entails.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all these games had E3 trailers at least, but I think Wildlands just was like a teaser trailer. So I don't think they showed a ton of it. But I love Ghost Recon. Advanced Warfighter was one of my favorite shooters on the last generation, mostly because of like the whole the gun customization that was in it. But yeah, I'm really intrigued by that as well.
My wife loves Ghost Recon because she's better at it than me.
That's a good reason. It's a good reason.
Yeah.
That's why we play fighting games.
Farting games?
Fighting.
Well,
I always win the first one, though.
I don't know what that means, so we're moving on. All right, next item on the list. Some sad news, because Game Trailers is shutting down after 13 years of being active. This is from Zach Lyons over on Twinfinite. It reads, in a surprise announcement on Twitter, Game Trailers has revealed that they are shutting down today after a 13-year run. The company started off keeping the gaming world up to date on the latest and great video games trailers, as their name would imply, but over the years evolved to bring original series, streaming, reviews, and more. The tweet reads, after 13 years, Game Trailer is closing down today. Thank you for your continued support over the years. It has been an adventure. Game Trailers took a look back at their history on their Facebook post announcing their closure. You can go read that over on Twinfinite. Now, full disclosure here from the outset, I was not a big Game Trailers user.
Nope.
Mostly because I started getting into video games, like hardcore into video games a lot later, and I already kind of had my places I would go, whether it was Pasta Padre for sporting news or just straight to YouTube channels for other trailers. So wasn't really a big Game Trailer fan, but it's always sad news to hear of something that's had such a long history shutting its doors. So were either of you guys Game Trailer users?
In the early days before YouTube, but YouTube is what led into the service, obviously. So once YouTube set in, that's where I went for Game Trailers.
Right.
Yeah, once YouTube came, that's where we kind of went for everything. Yeah? Music videos, funny videos, all these things. And I never used Game Trailers before.
That line, though, we're glad to have helped bring this world into being, I think they do deserve the credit that they've kind of claimed there. They definitely contributed to building this world that we live in and what we're doing right now. So,
yeah, it was almost a self-sacrificing kind of thing, because in creating this kind of world, it means that the world that they thrived in for so long is unnecessary at this point. And I think we're starting to see more of this with middle tier companies shutting down. I think we're going to see more rumblings of this and people moving away from kind of this organized multimedia approach to games coverage. We saw this with EA when they moved their press conference out of E3 and opened it up to the public for this summer. Kind of this move away from traditional games journalism, and I think this is just indicative of what it is. So, what do you guys think the future of gaming journalism and media is going to look like?
Well, what do you mean by the middle tier? Like when I was thinking of what these would be, is it like the higher tier are the companies that can continue on through their sponsors, and the lower tier are the people who aren't really monetized and don't have much to lose? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I think in games journalism we have our big dogs. We have our IGNs, we have our GameSpots, and our Polygons. But then we've got like our Destructoids, some stuff that's rooted in print media as well, like Game Informer or PC Magazine or PC Gamer or something like that, Eurogamer. A lot of those middle tier where they don't have kind of like that international audience or that broad sweeping appeal. They've kind of set into their niches. That's I guess what I meant by it. If that helps make more sense.
And I think something else you've got to factor in is it's not just gaming that's experiencing this, but social media has completely changed the way people use the internet. And I'm not going to a website to check out the articles they've written and the videos they've posted. I'm mostly finding stuff through what my friends are sharing. And so the future is going to rely a whole lot more on word of mouth, whether that's a good thing or not.
Right. Yeah, the advent of Twitch and the idea of individual YouTubers and their voices, it's all about finding because I even know with like IGN, I go to IGN all the time, but there's only a few people whose writings like I seek out on there. I'm gonna look for the Mitch Dyers and the Marty Slevas and the Jared Petties that are writing on there. I'm not necessarily going there to just click on every single link and try to read stuff. So yeah, I think what we're seeing is kind of like this individualized communities where like I go to Kinda Funny or I watch PewDiePie's videos to get a feel for games or whatever, and that more traditional side of it's going to start to get pushed out.
So is Game Informer surviving because GameStop?
I think that's a part of it. I mean, and it's not to say anything about the quality of the product that these guys are releasing. Like they do really good work, but there's only so much time in the day, and when you've got, and we've learned from, we've learned from just doing this how hard it is to just get people to click a link. And when all of your revenue comes from that, like it's impossible to stay afloat almost unless you've got people who are willing to shell out big money for you when you start to get in trouble. So, but yeah, I think we're going to start to see this migration away from it. All right. For those of you who are just tuning in and wondering what we're doing here, we normally do this podcast on Mondays around the table that I'm sitting at, all in the same room. So this is a little bit different of a feel. Trying not to step on each other's funk and get audio to cut off. So, but we got a ton of snow and ice, so we're doing this now. All right. Anything else to say about that topic before I move on?
I do not.
Nope.
All right. So a big story that came out, I don't know, a couple months ago. We have an update on it. Laura Bailey, the Uncharted 4 voice actress, has responded to the racial casting controversy. This is over on Twinfinite, written by Justin Carter, if I can ever get it to load. Here it comes. All right. It says, this past December at the Game Awards, Naughty Dog revealed a new trailer for their upcoming action-adventure game Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. In the trailer, series protagonist Nathan Drake comes across and exchanges a few blows with a new character named Nadine Ross, a South African woman. Fans were ecstatic at the reveal of the South African woman in the game, but their excitement for her deflated after it was revealed that she would be voiced in motion captured by famous actress Laura Bailey. That's a bit of an overstatement. Not everybody's excitement deflated. Let's just get down to her response here. It reads, Okay, it says, I think more than anything, I just want to clear up how the casting happened. I went in person to audition for the role of Nadine. The character breakdown I received had no picture or physical description at all. The reason for that being there was no character design yet. Nadine was described as a strong-willed, intelligent, powerful woman with a South African dialect. So I trained with my dialect coach multiple times before the audition. I obsessed over the scenes in my head. I went and auditioned alongside several other actresses of several different ethnicities. I was incredibly nervous, and I was thrilled to be cast. It's rare to see a breakdown for such an amazing female character. Add to that, I've been an enormous fan of Naughty Dog's work for years and was beside myself to get the opportunity to work with Neil Druckmann on the motion capture stage as well as in the recording booth. She continues, it wasn't until we had rehearsed and arrived for our first day of filming that I saw the concept art for Nadine. One of the very talented artists at Naughty Dog had come up with a beautiful design for her, and it happened to look very different than me, and that was difficult. Not because it changed anything about my performance. Nadine was the same woman. She had the same background, the same personality, the same strength. But suddenly, because she had a different skin color than I did, there was a chance some would deem my portrayal unacceptable. But at that point, what's worse? Choose that a beautiful design the artist created knowing there could be backlash because they had already cast a non-black actress, or change the design entirely out of fear and lose the opportunity to have a strong character of color in the game. I guess I don't know if there's a right answer to that. All I can say is I think she's one of the most awesome, she uses a curse word, people I've ever had the honor to play, and I'm so proud to have worked on Uncharted 4. All right. All right. I've already drawn some responses from you guys, so I'll just open it up to you guys and your thoughts.
Who wants to break it, Larry? Me or you?
Go for it.
Huh?
Go for it. You're talking.
I see this as very petty. It's like if they got mad at casting the high-profile Johnny Depp to play Rango and not get a real chameleon. It's a non-issue. Like, do we forget that, Phil Lamar back in the late 90s, early 2000s, whatever, played Samurai Jack. Like, that was fine. We have this Hank Azaria guy, this white dude playing an Indian guy, Apu in The Simpsons. I mean, I think it's a non-issue. Like, to me, I don't care if the actor is of the same race or even of a different gender. As long as they have that flow and that cadence that is required or envisioned for this character to come to life. So I just feel like it's just a small thing that's blowing up.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. It's just another one of those, it just feels like people are looking for something to get mad kind of things. And maybe some people didn't understand how the casting worked, and some people latched onto it for political reasons, but at the end of the day, they cast the actor before they develop the character, and what do you do about it? There's nothing you can do. Except fire the actress for no reason, or whitewash the character, which I would argue is way worse.
Yeah. I mean, I was frustrated by this story when it first came out a couple months ago that people were upset about this. The whole purpose of video games is to be able to embody and portray people that you can't be in real life. Like the whole point of playing Uncharted is so that you can be Nathan Drake, this great adventurer who hunts treasure, or you play Bloodborne to be the hunter who goes in and fights these bigger than life monsters. Like the whole entire point of gaming is to put yourself in the place of people who you will never be able to be in real life. And for us to turn up our nose at the fact that this woman who doesn't match the physical appearance of her character is almost a little hypocritical of what we do on a regular basis when we pick up our controllers. Like, she's getting to play this strong, even if black character that she's wanted to work for a company she's always wanted to work with, and it was just a catch-22. Like she said, there was no right answer. Either we continue pressing forward as if nobody's upset, or we change course and we yield to all of these people who really don't have that much merit behind their behind the objections that they have to this. Like, go play The Last of Us. Did oh gosh, I just had the name in my mind. But the guy that voiced Joel looks nothing like Joel. It wasn't a young girl that they had to voice Ellie. It was Ashley Johnson, who's older. Like, this happens all the time in voice acting. So I don't know. I figured we would all kind of see the same on this whole thing, but I just wanted to give us a chance to kind of give our thoughts on it. Anything else you guys want to say?
I'll reiterate what we mentioned last time a similar issue like this came up. There are real problems with this that we need to deal with, and these little things distract from that, minimize it, and really turn people off from even engaging in the discussions.
Yeah. All right. Next item on the list, I want to move on to this, and it's. I had the tweet in the show notes, but I don't want to give attention to the guy who made this topic popular. But the news is that Quantum Break got announced for PC, and a big controversy kind of stirred up on this when a guy from Twitter tweeted at Phil Spencer and said, you didn't talk to us hardcore Xbox fans about bringing this to PC. We didn't want to do this. I canceled my pre-order. And Phil Spencer responded to the guy and was like, so you canceled your pre-order because more people get to play a game that you want to play? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I think we all agree that that logic is kind of dumb. To be like, well, PC gamers get to play it too. I'm canceling my pre-order. But there are some issues in this, and I'll kick this off because I want to give some thoughts on it. Because I saw a lot of people criticizing anybody who may be upset about the fact that Quantum Break is coming to PC as well as Xbox One. So let's take a look back. So Quantum Break is being developed by the same guys who did like Alan Wake and those games. And Quantum Break was announced several years ago and was being pushed as an Xbox One exclusive. And it was mentioned in all of the greatest Xbox lineups when that blog post from Major Nelson got released at the end of the at the beginning of the year. It had Quantum Break listed on there as Xbox One exclusives. Every time it was shown at an E3, it was listed as an Xbox One exclusive. For all intents and purposes, up until the middle of last week, everybody thought if we want to play Quantum Break, we have to do it on the Xbox One. So my issue is not that PC players are getting to play it. More power to them. It's awesome. My issue with this game coming to PC is the fact that it seems very underhanded from Microsoft, that this IP that they own and these studios that they work with have been working on a PC build for years at this point, and they're going to go off and tell people, as we saw a couple weeks ago, where Xbox has been lagging in sales behind PlayStation 4 in the moments where they are having to tell people and give people a reason to buy the Xbox, they hid the fact that they were going to be bringing this to the PC as well. And I work with a couple people over on Twinfinite who are like, the only reason that I bought an Xbox is because I wanted to play Quantum Break, because it seems very interesting and unique. So this isn't something that is, I mean, and that's just anecdotal, but I'm sure there's many people out there who are like, I bought this console for this game, and now you're telling me that I could have saved that money and just bought it on my PC. So yeah, I've got an issue with this.
And I see the issue, and I kind of agree with you, and the other angle that you've mentioned of Xbox really needs a good exclusive games lineup right now, and bringing all of the exclusives over to PC is going to really harm Xbox in the long run.
Well, but aren't we seeing that Microsoft is already kind of combining their Xbox numbers and their Windows 10 numbers? Like, don't they want those to be kind of symbiotic?
Oh yeah, we've seen. We've kind of seen a melding of these platforms together with one another. I think it was announced that Scalebound was also coming to PC when the delay got announced. I think Gears 4 is going to be coming to PC now. Quantum Break, and really, it's looking like the only exclusive that isn't coming to the PC. I mean, Ori and the Blind Forest came to the PC. Halo looks like the only thing currently that has no plans of coming to the Xbox. But that can change at any moment too, because just a month ago, Xbox said, "Hey, we have no intention of bringing Quantum Break to the PC," and so I just it seems underhanded. And if your plan is to bring Windows 10 and Xbox One together, that's fine. Just be upfront about it. Like, don't try to do this death by 1,000 pricks to get us there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm seeing it. I was a little torn about it at first, but now I'm seeing it.
So that brings me to my next question. In a world where these Xbox and Windows 10 exclusives are kind of just synonymous with one another, what do we see the future of Xbox being? And I have two opinions about this, and I'll just present them if you agree with them or if you have something different. I think one of two things is about to happen. Either one, we're going to see a complete and total swallowing up of the Xbox division by the Windows 10 division, and we're going to just see all of gaming happening in Windows 10 to the point where maybe the next Xbox One is just kind of like a minimum specs PC that'll get released that any game for Windows 10 will have to be able to run on that, and that kind of that console experience goes by the wayside. Or they look and they say, well, people are developing Windows machines already. There's no money in hardware. Why are we going to spend the money to develop like this piece of hardware that can run our content? Why don't we just sell off our Xbox division to another company, let them develop the hardware? We still own all the IP to the software, and just see where it goes from there.
Absolutely. Number 2. Absolutely.
Why do you feel so strongly that way?
Because what were we saying back in the day? Like, they're making what, $17 when they sell an Xbox?
Yeah, I'm going to look that up real quick because I know it's the last time I looked, it was less than $30.
Like, that's seriously nothing for the cost you're putting into it. So, I mean, that would be a smart move, and just kind of focus on the IPs there. Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're migrating to Windows 10, and it's like, I'm running a Windows 10 machine right now that was made by Dell. It wasn't made by Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Of the two options, I like that one better. But either way, it just seems like things would get real shaky for Xbox unless a really great company took the helm, and that concerns me because if Xbox is already not doing great, they're not doing terrible, but they're not really toe to toe with PlayStation. But if they dropped to an even more minuscule level or cease to exist altogether, I would hate to see PlayStation with no competition. Because PlayStation only does good things when competition is there. When they can rest on their laurels, it's just they're going to sit there and not innovate and not do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see what the NX brings, to see if maybe that can add a third side of pressure to this competition. And Nintendo has always kind of been like the hardware innovator when it comes to, well, the peripheral innovator, not necessarily the hardware innovator. But I could absolutely, I mean, think about Activision or Ubisoft or EA. You know, any of these big companies that have either currently or in the past had some sort of working relationship with Microsoft. If they were able to come in and say, look, we've got more money than the world. We'll buy the Xbox division off of you. We'll develop the hardware for it. And now the only place that I can play Destiny, Call of Duty, Skylanders, all of the Activision and stuff is over on this Activision console that they've created. Or EA comes in and you play your EA Sports stuff and your BioWare and your Battlefield stuff and your Star Wars games, because they're the only ones that can make Star Wars games without giving permission. Like, what if EA comes in and says, we'll buy it and we'll have our own hardware division? Like, all of this is just wild speculation. But,
Wild speculation!
But as of less than a year ago, in August of 2015, Microsoft was losing money on each Xbox One that got sold.
Oh my God.
Which is fine to begin with. Like, PlayStation 3 did that because they were in the fight between Blu-ray and HD DVD. So they installed these massively expensive Blu-ray drives in the PlayStation 3, sold them at a loss, but flooded the market with Blu-ray players to the point where you can't find those little red boxes anymore. Like, and so it's fine if you're losing it for a time, but we're almost 3 years into this. We're 2.5 years into the cycle now. You got to start turning a profit on these things.
Wow. Just the idea of like some major company like you were talking about, like Activision or someone buying the system. That's a bold move, because not only are you going to have to figure out a way to make a profit on there, but you're also making all your stuff exclusive on that system, which is going to sell, man. Wow.
Yeah.
I never thought about it.
Even if they still made those games third party, but they just said, hey, to get any of the expansion stuff, you've got to own our console, or you've got to have our console to get it in the first year. And after a year, it becomes available to everybody else. Like, I think they can make money hand over fist on something like that. Any other thoughts?
I like that. That was cool.
All right. Next item on the list comes from Yami over at Twinfinite. It is about The Walking Dead Michonne. It says Telltale has had their hands full for a while now with many different properties. Their biggest series, no doubt, has been The Walking Dead, and word that Michonne-centered spinoff would occur has been waiting for a release date confirmation. Today, Telltale Games has announced that The Walking Dead Michonne will premiere its first episode on February 23rd. The episode, entitled In Too Deep, will follow its titular character on a ship sailing adventure with some guy named Pete. So, additionally, the other two episodes in the series have been titled and have release windows. Episode 2, Give No Shelter, is set for March, with Episode 3, What We Deserve, coming in April. And you can own that all on any platform that's ever been invented, including the Sega Genesis, for $14.99. I was talking to Lauren about these games, and she was like, "What?" I was playing Firewatch, and she was like, "This is a lot like a Telltale game. It just looks better. Why do those Telltale games not look good?" I'm like, "Because they make them so they can run on an iPhone. Like, it's got to look bad." So, you guys excited about this? I know we got a bunch of. We're all Walking Dead fans. So, anyone excited particularly about this?
I am. I've started playing through the other Telltale Walking Dead series, and I've enjoyed it so far. So I'm interested in another one. I'm not super excited. They're not my favorite games, but they're interesting. I'll play it.
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't really attached myself to a Telltale game before. Like I even tried the Borderlands one, but it didn't really get me. But the Walking Dead series definitely did. Like that's something I played through, and the idea that it's going to be Michonne just kind of adds that extra excitement. She's one of the characters that I think is just excellent, very brilliant, and I believe this one. I don't know if you already said it, but I was in the restroom. But it's set when it's set when she went off on the boat.
Yeah,
that's cool because like for a few issues there, it's like, what's going on? Where is she?
Yeah.
But now we get to experience that. And I know that this is more focused on the comic because the TV show is not at this point. But when in regards to the TV show, I felt like the person with one of the more compelling backstories was her. And that really got me into this mood of wanting to know more. So getting to live this moment through the game I'm very hopeful about it.
I love when these games take the opportunity to tell parts of the story that like the source material isn't able to tell. You know, like the Lego Star Wars game that's going to be coming out later this year is going to tell the story of how C-3PO ended up with his red arm in the films. And so taking these things that like, okay, we can't necessarily take up screen time in our stuff or, you know, write a comic book series about all this. But you can access some of that story through this avenue. But I've been done with Telltale games for a while. Like I just try to play and they just never really hold me. I played the first season of The Walking Dead. I played Wolf Among Us. I played the Game of Thrones stuff, but until they can take a serious step back and say, all right, we're going to overhaul this system and make games that actually run properly, then I'm not going to spend any more money on them.
Wolf Among Us was tough, man. I couldn't even get past the first part when you're in that fight.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't make the worst decisions.
All right, next item on the list. The next wave of backwards compatible Xbox One games was announced, and it did not include any of the stuff that people were excited about. So I think it's mentioned in the article, so I'll let the article say it. This is from our boy Eddie over at GameSpot.
Eddie.
It says 4 new games have been added to Xbox One backwards compatibility program Microsoft has announced. Titles added to the lineup February 11th include Alan Wake's American Nightmare, Lego Batman, Sam & Max Beyond Time and Space, and Trials HD. With the introduction of these games, the Xbox One backwards compatible program now includes 134 games. You can see all of them in this roundup post. In other Xbox One backwards compatibility news, Red Dead Redemption and others were discovered to be playable on the console this past weekend. However, Microsoft has since removed Red Dead Redemption, saying it was made available to public due to an error. So,
what?
Well,
if it works, let it work.
I guess it was just in testing or something, and they accidentally made it. I have no idea. Or they were just like, we're going to release it.
Do we seriously not have Skate 3 yet?
Did you see where I think it was over on YouTube videos, people were going onto EA's YouTube page and just spamming Skate 4, Skate 4, Skate 4 on everything that they posted. Go ahead, Larry.
The only thing on this list that excites me at all, and I know it's not going to excite most people, is Alan Wake's American Nightmare. I didn't get a chance to play that last gen, and I'm glad to. And now I can go back and play it.
I think other
than that, it's very disappointing.
To get you even more excited, I think if you buy Quantum Break, you will get a playable version of the original Alan Wake. Let me make sure I'm not lying to you. Let's see. Alan.
It's a weird thing to bundle.
Well, it's from the same developer.
Yeah.
Alan Wake talks to the Xbox port, Quantum Break on the Xbox One with free PC. It's a PC copy.
Oh.
Sorry.
Humbug.
So, okay. But yeah, I'm kind of, I haven't been using the backwards compatibility stuff as much as I thought I would. I mean, I've went back and played Mirror's Edge and South Park and a little bit of the first Mass Effect, but outside of that, haven't really used it much.
Is that for a lack of desire on your own part, or a lack of desire for the particular games that have been available?
It's been a lack of desire for the particular games. When Red Dead comes available on it, I'll play that. When Skate 3 comes available on it, I'll play that.
Still more waiting.
All right. Let's go to the last item on the list because we've been going for a while now. Justice Antonin Scalia passed away over the weekend. And we don't talk too much about political news on the podcast, but Scalia was a part of a very big decision when it comes to us as gamers. And so I'm going to read this article from our boy Eddie over at GameSpot. The article reads, Antonin Scalia, the United States Supreme Court Justice who sided with the video game industry in a landmark 2011 case about violent video games, has died. GameSpot's sister site, CBS, reported he was 79. In June 2011, Scalia wrote the decision for the 7-2 Supreme Court vote that sided with the gaming industry in the case Brown versus Entertainment Merchants Association. Here's an excerpt from the ruling as written by Scalia. Quote, the most basic principle, the government lacks the power to restrict expression because of its message, idea, subject matter, or content, is subject to a few limited exceptions for historically unprotected speech, such as obscenity, incitement, and fighting words. But a legislature cannot create new categories of unprotected speech simply by weighing the value of a particular category against its social cost and then punishing it if it fails the test. Reading Dante is unquestionably more cultured and intellectually edifying than playing Mortal Kombat, but these cultural and intellectual differences are not constitutional ones, end quote. The bill sought to ban the sale or rental of violent video games to children. A violent game was defined as, quote, a game in which the range of options available to a player include killing, maiming, dismembering, or sexually assaulting an image of a human being, end quote. Under the law, retailers that sold such games would be subject to a $1,000 fine. The bill would have also required violent video games to bear a 2-inch by 2-inch sticker with a solid white 18 outlined in black on the front cover. That's more than twice the size of the labels that currently adorn game box covers and display the familiar ESRB rating. Scalia was nominated, and then it just gives some background on who Scalia was. And then the Entertainment Software Association, which represents the video game industry's interest in Washington and puts on E3 every year, has released this statement. Quote, the Entertainment Software Association joins those who salute the service and mourn the loss of Justice Scalia. In 2011, when our industry defended the rights of creators and consumers of video games before the U.S. Supreme Court, it was Justice Scalia who authored the historic majority opinion. He declared with no ambiguity that video games like books, movies, and other forms of expression are deserving of First Amendment protections. It was a momentous day for our industry and those who love the entertainment we create, and we are indebted to Justice Scalia for so eloquently defending the rights of creators and consumers everywhere. I didn't realize that Scalia was such a central part of this and that he wrote the opinion on the matter. I remember this being a big deal when it started happening in 2011. But we've had the conversation a lot of times about the links between violence and video games, and about how a video game cannot make a person into a violent individual. If so, we would all be violent individuals, and I don't think any of us would define ourselves as that. And so to have somebody who can look at games and give them what really boils down to the same protection as every other kind of art really helped to kind of pave the way for video games to be viewed as a legitimate sort of artistic media. And so I thought it was just cool to remember that. What, you guys have anything to say? All right.
I also did not.
Oh, go ahead.
I also didn't realize that he was such an important part of that. But yeah, I mean, I've just echoed the same things you said. I'm glad that he made those sorts of decisions, and I personally agree with a lot of his viewpoints. So definitely sad to see his passing.
All right. Well, that does it for the news from this week. Let's move on. We've got some reviews for you.
Reviews for you,
Larry.
Talk to me.
No, you talk to me about Homefront, the Revolution beta. I think.
I liked it.
Hold on. Let me make sure. I don't think there should be an NDA on the beta, but it was closed, so I'm going to double check.
Oh.
So, NDA on Homefront, the Revolution beta. Don't want to get in trouble.
Good catch. Good catch.
There's no NDA. You're good. Go ahead. Tell me everything about it. Spoil everything.
I liked it. So you didn't really get any access to the campaign. You didn't get access to the traditional kill each other multiplayer. What it was a preview of was the game type where you go from place to place performing missions in this sort of open world type of environment. The game itself, I'm hoping the graphics are a lot more polished by the time it comes out. It was kind of lacking in that way. It had some frame rate issues. But the gameplay was a lot of fun. Realistic movement speed kind of stuff. It's right up your alley as far as that goes. I love the concept of taking your country back from the evil North Korean commies. It's great. It's a very tactical game. And that's something that you don't get a lot of. Like, there are some games you can kind of lone wolf if you want to. This is not one of those games. And I love being forced to rely on your teammates. We played it on normal difficulty, and it was pretty tough. We only actually beat one of the 3 missions that were available.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it being difficult. And I think, who makes that game?
Deep Silver is one.
Okay,
and
yeah. Deep Silver came out, and they were like, we intended for everybody to start on easy and try to work to normal, then work to whatever. So that's cool.
Yeah, actually, I take it back. We beat one mission. We beat 2 missions, but the second mission, 3 of the 4 of us died. Only one of us made it to the end.
So if you die, you're out?
There's a revive function, sort of like Halo 5 has.
Okay.
You can be brought back to your feet, I think, 3 times before you get taken down for good. And you've got a good minute to get to the person, so it's a good amount of time. But if you're playing with somebody who is stupid and ran off by themselves and get themselves down in a bad spot, then that's it. You're not getting to them. And with some of the randoms we played with, we had a couple of games where it was a wipe because we tried to get to some guy who felt like he was going to Rambo his way through it. We should have just let him die. But you need your teammates for it. There's a lot of differentiation in skills, different skill trees that you can go with. And so there's some differentiation in how you play the game. I like that. There's a lot of character customization. The unlocking weapons and unlocking gear comes by earning points and currency in the game that you buy these crates with, and it's kind of randomized. Reminds me of Halo's Wreck system, except as far as I know, you won't be spending real money on it. I hope that continues to be the case.
I want to spend all the money on it. Deep Silver, I'll give you $10,000 to put in microtransactions.
The melee takedowns were a lot of fun. It's not just you randomly hit somebody with a knife, but they take some time. You're going to dive tackle them and put it through their eye, or wrestle them to the ground and slit their throat. Like it's kind of rough.
I don't like losing an eye. That's one of my biggest fears, man.
I know. One time you got hit in the eye. It was, in retrospect, it was hilarious.
Yeah, funny.
Well, once you were okay, it was okay to laugh at it, I think.
Yeah. Just living one of my big fears. That's all. No big deal.
So the game, the reason it's so hard is it forces you to play it like a tactical guerrilla unit, and you're supposed to do kind of hit and run stuff and try to sneak your way through. And you're not supposed to engage in every fight you can engage in. But almost nobody on the internet understands that concept. It's incredibly frustrating. Like, there is a game type called infiltration where you are literally supposed to sneak through and not engage anybody. And every random I got paired up with, the first thing they do is walk around the first corner and start shooting people. And then I shoot them, and then I quit. But it was a lot of fun. I'm hoping this is just a tiny taste of what it has to offer, because I did not play this beta the whole time it was available. I played each mission several times, and I was like, all right, this is cool. I'm done, though. I'm going to go play Halo now. So hopefully this was just a taste and not most of what this is going to consist of. Hopefully it's not grinding away the same missions again and again like Destiny was. That being said, we haven't got to see the campaign yet. We haven't got to see the multiplayer yet. So I really haven't seen anywhere near the full scope of this game. But what I got, I really loved. Luke, you're going to love. It's got a Division kind of feel where you can look at your gun and modify pieces on it. There's a function where you use your cell phone camera to highlight enemies, so you put a little red arrow above them for your teammates, so you can keep track of them that way. Help each other sneak through and spot snipers and stuff. And you can ride dirt bikes, which is hard to control, but a lot of fun. It is also the easiest way to kill your teammate, to run him over with a dirt bike.
Nice. So, how'd the game run, like just graphically?
Some frame rate issues. Other than that, it was fine. Hopefully that's fixed up, though, because it would be really annoying in the actual final product. One more thing I'll mention, there is a strong scavenging component to it. You don't get your explosives and stuff back at the end of every mission. You have to find the things to build the explosives and have the skills to build what you want, or you got to buy them. So my first thing I did was immediately go find the skill to build a Molotov cocktail, because I like to light stuff on fire. It was fun.
Awesome. What's up, White Husky 2016? Stick around for the after party lounge when we chat with people. But we don't do reviews in a word for beta, so I won't put you on the spot for that. We'll do that when the full game comes out. The other game that we got a chance to play this week, I got a chance to play, was Firewatch on the PlayStation 4. So I really don't want to try to spoil much of the story for you, so I won't do that. But essentially what Firewatch is, it's about a man who is escaping from the kind of the tragedy of his world and goes to be a fire watch at a national park in Wyoming, and begins to, if you play it certain ways, begins to build a relationship with his supervisor, Delilah. And so it takes place in this forest. It's got a really pretty art style, looks really, really good. On the PlayStation 4, there's a lot of frame rate issues, some pop in that takes you out of the action a little bit. It's all played from the first person perspective. But where the game really shines is in two separate ways. Number one is just in the dialogue itself and the way that it flows and the natural kind of bantering between it. All of the communication happens via the walkie-talkie. You can either select responses or not select responses. I learned this after playing through, but there's actually only 7 instances in the game that you have to talk to Delilah. Every other time you can just choose silence, and she just thinks that you're a big old jerk. But I didn't play that way. I responded generally and tried to be kind. and the dialogue just flows so naturally. But the other place is tied to the game shines is tied to the dialogue, but it's within the story. And a lot of people think that the story is a bit disappointing, but I think that the disappointment is essential for the story. It's required for the story to be disappointed at the end of it. And so a lot of people took off points because of that. Um, and but for me, it really just it brought it home. Firewatch was one of those games that I put the controller down and I was like, man, that would have been good if not for the last 10 minutes of it. But then I laid down and started thinking about it while I was going to sleep, and I woke up the next day thinking about it. And I read a little bit about it. I kept thinking about it, and the more I thought about it, the more the story impacted me, because we're starting to enter kind of this era in gaming, and um, we're entering this era in gaming where these deep stories are being told that allow us to take a glimpse of ourselves and to put ourselves in these situations that we would never wish ourselves in into real life. Whether it's a game like That Dragon Cancer, where you've got a son that's dying of cancer, or everybody's gone to the rapture, where everybody around you has disappeared, or a game like this, where you're dealing with this interpersonal tragedy and the thoughts that go through your mind of what you are and aren't capable of allowing yourself to do at those times, and that's what the game's all about. So maybe maybe I'll get you guys to watch some gameplay footage of it or something. It's not a particularly long game. I beat it in about 4 hours. Um, but for me, but maybe at some point we could do like a spoiler cast on it if you guys got a chance to check it out to talk more about the story. But for my review in a word, I would just say it's layered. Um, like you have the story that's right in front of you. There's not a whole lot of gameplay mechanic to it. There's some exploration in it. Uh, in the game, it's actually like a camping simulator. Like you have a map, a paper map that you have to pull out and a compass to be able to orient yourself and turn yourself to navigate the world. And so, but outside of that, there's not too many gameplay mechanics involved in it. But the story itself is layered because you have what's right there in front of you, and then you have a story that branches off of that. But then you have all of the emotional stuff that's happening underneath it, and you kind of get to you kind of get to dictate that. So. Uh, so yeah, that's my review in a word is layered, and I hope that someday we'll be able to talk more in depth about the story of it because it was very good. White Husky wants to know. This has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. He said, "I'm planning to be a gamer / streamer, but I don't know where to start." Um, just start. That's my advice. Just start doing it,
Pretty much.
and the more you do it, the more fun you'll have, and start to build up. And yes, Milky, you have missed the entire show.
Just about. There's a little bit left for you.
Yeah, we still have the after party line, so stick around there. That's where we interact with our chat. But let's move on to everybody's favorite segment, the random question of the week. Larry.
Random question. Okay.
All right, so this week I have a random question. And yesterday was Valentine's Day.
Walking Dead Day.
Walking Dead Day. So it's Valentine's Day. It's a holiday where people feel obligated to act extra romantic. And so my question is along those lines. We're all married men. Was there a
to one another?
Right. But can you think of an instance or a point where you realized, man, I really want to be with this girl, or this is awesome. I've made a great decision.
Absolutely. It's a little sappy, but that's kind of the way it rolls. But like it was one of those moments where, as soon as I saw her, I was like, okay, yeah, this is the girl I want to go for. But what the moment that really showed me that she was the one I was wanting to be with was we went out to we were in college, obviously in Knoxville, and we went to Guitar Center, and I had bought a ukulele. I never had one before. We then drove to Chick-fil-A, which was down the highway. We parked right across from the road, and we just sat on the hood of the car and just sang songs to cars as they drove by. And I'm like, okay, this is a person that's similar to me, something I have fun with. And that was just kind of like one of those sweet moments where I realized, yeah, I'm in it for the long run.
I'm not really like sappy and sentimental, really, but like I guess with Lauren, it was when I figured out that she wasn't like that either.
Okay,
I like it.
Like we don't do Valentine's Day. Like she is legitimately the kind of girl who's like, don't buy me anything for Valentine's Day, and if you do it, she doesn't get pissed, like because and her argument is it's a holiday that was just accented by the card companies to try to make more money. I'm like, that's tinfoily enough for me. I think I'm down with that. But I know her story for me is the first day we were talking. Um, she's from a little town called Shelby, North Carolina. And we were having our fall fun festival, and I was like, well, at our church, I was like, we do a trunk or treat, we got all this stuff, and we do hay rides, and so then she starts talking about her church and the ones that they do, and she's like, we don't do hay rides, we do cotton rides, and I just said, that's very racist of you, and that's the moment that she knew that she liked me, according to her. So,
There you go.
but yeah, I don't know. I'm not really a sentimental kind of dude like that. Like the other day, I was driving by my mom and dad. They're selling their house, and one of the guys I work with, a guy named Tim, was like, "Are you really sad about this?" I was like, "Sad about what?" He was like, "About your parents moving out of the house." I was like, "No." Why? He's like, well, that's like where you grew up, where all your memories are. I was like, I don't care about that house. Like
my memories are in my brain.
Yeah, they're in here and they're not there. But yeah, so I don't really know. What about you, Larry?
So it's kind of silly, but it's good. So I won't go through the whole story of how Jess and I wound up dating, but it wasn't supposed to happen. I really tried to avoid it, but she's really persistent. I'm glad she was on this side of it. But after we'd gone out a couple of times, I went inside, went to her house, met her family and all that. And we went to her room, and she said, "Do you want to play Halo?" And I was like, "Awesome." And I thought maybe she was just like, this was her brother's Xbox, and she was trying to impress me. But then we fired up Halo, and she actually managed to kill me a couple of times. And I was like, this is good. This is good for one. And like I said, I know it's silly, but it was the first thing in a long series. We had so much in common, a lot of things that we really enjoy together, gaming wise, music wise, all kinds of stuff. So
did that story end with you being like, all right, for every kill I get, you have to take off a piece of clothing?
No, it did not.
That was a fail on your part then.
No, I have some honor. Now, if I'd been playing with you,
I understand. I'd have been naked so quick because you're way better than me.
That wasn't true back then.
Oh man,
You
yeah.
used to be good at Halo.
There once was a day. Milky513 says, here in Ohio and Indiana, they have Sweetest Day. It actually was created by the founder of American Greetings, which is based in Ohio. It's in October, when greeting cards sold the least.
There you have it.
Who's buying greeting cards in July? Like, did people do that?
For birthdays. A lot of July birthdays, I think.
Oh, yeah, but there's birthdays every month. I just
Yeah,
didn't
but
know
July.
if people were like, hey, thanks for the potato salad. Happy 4th.
Hey, Dr. Pepper Queen. That's an interesting name.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Pepper Queen, what's up? All right. Well, that's going to do it for the audio portion of this podcast. Again, really sorry for the audio quality. But stick around if you're in the Twitch chat for the after party lounge where we hang out, talk about topics that you want to talk about. We're using Google Hangouts right now. So, all right. Well, let's go around the circle and let's do it quickly. So, just where can we find you?
I'm Larry Hunt. I'm on Twitter at Larry Hunts Zombies. LARHUNTS Zombies.
All right.
I'm really not on anywhere. already off the grid.
But who are you at least?
Dizzy.
Word.
Grenade and Grenade on Xbox Live. Yeah.
I'm Luke Croft. You can follow me on Twitter at TK from Antioch. We're the Player 3 Podcast. We get together every Monday over here on twitch.tv/Player3Podcast, youtube.com/Player3Podcast, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, all these different places. But if you're in here with the on the chat with us, stick around for the After Party Lounge. But we are the Player 3 Podcast. Player 3 Podcast! P3P.